another episode of Trailblazers Rising. I am so excited to bring my guest to you all, my fans, my listeners, my loves, my hearts, my soul. Elle and I have been following each other and been mutuals for a long time now. And I don't understand the concept of time, so I won't even try and estimate how long. Elle does some really fantastic, wild, wonderful stuff in terms of brain training, and I wrote it all down. Biofeedback and back. I think I'm getting it right. So before I watch it anymore, Elle, say hello and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much, Melanie, for inviting me today. My name is Elle. I'm a brain coach and virtual neurofeedback specialist. I help anxious overachievers and neurodiverse entrepreneurs to rewire their brain so they can upgrade their energy, productivity, and self.
That's so exciting. My nipples got hard. I have been listening to Andrew Huberman and a few other people on my daily WALKSs. I can't say the word out loud because of these four-leggeds that are laying right next to me. And the field of neuroscience is so incredibly intriguing and interesting to me as a neurodivergent entrepreneur and coach who helps neurodivergent coaches and entrepreneurs. So when it comes to virtual neurofeedback, what does that mean?
Yeah. So the very first thing I do with all of my clients that's so different from anybody else is I take an assessment that quantifies your brainwaves in real time. So we're looking at the overproduction and the underproduction of where your brainwaves fall on a day-to-day basis. And then from there, we can create a specific protocol to each individual person. So everything that I do is unique to every single person's brain. So then we can train the brain to be able to compensate for the overproductivity and underproductivity through operant conditioning. So it's teaching the brain to self-regulate over time. So instead of going after symptoms of difficulty focusing or executive dysfunction, you're actually getting to the root of the brain, the operating system, and you're saying, hey, you could actually behave a little bit differently without experiencing anxiety, without experiencing some of that time blindness and everything else that comes with difficulty focusing.
So forgive me, but I am a visual learner. Does this involve putting on like a cap with the things coming out of it and then watching my brainwaves on a screen somewhere? I'm sorry to sound so technical, y'all. Please.
So it is,
If you can't keep
technical.
up, we can break it down even more.
It is technical. It really is. You can get into statistics 101 if you want to. But so, yes, it's the device that I use since I operate completely virtually. The device is EEG sensing. So I send you a device that connects to your phone, and then through a specific app, I can monitor your different brainwaves that are occurring. So it's not putting anything into your brain in any capacity. We're just looking at it. And then from there, that's when I then create the protocols.
My bittersweet love affair with tech makes me go, "That's cool." And also, oh my God, really? Can we even do that? If we were to, what it feels like to me is getting really to the root and the source of it, the same way like a naturopathic doctor who, or service provider, functional medicine provider. I interviewed many on this podcast, like really getting to the root instead of doing research and being like, okay, well, I heard this supplement's good. Let's take it for a while and see. And I heard, this mindset technique is good, but like, let's check it out. So when we're doing this, ideally, who is the best candidate? Somebody with anxiety all the time?
So I have worked in the field for about 8 years now. I started working for private practice and I worked for 2 different offices. I worked in neurological rehabilitation and also in behavioral analytics. So I've worked with anyone from age 6 to 80 and all ways, shapes, and forms. But my niche now, because of my journey and who I am, is very specifically entrepreneurs. I work with a lot more women than I do men. I also work with a lot of athletes and peak performance and so many, because it's just a hot topic right now.
Yeah. So how did you, when I started, okay, it was 2020. I had been doing mindset work on myself since about 2018. And my mom passed away after her 18-month battle with stage 4 head and neck cancer. We were in the height of the shutdown. It was April of 2020. And I was just like, I don't know what the fuck I need to do anymore, who I am, what I'm here for, what role I need to play. Crazy, wild spiritual awakening ensued. Lots of peanut butter whiskey was consumed. And by October of 2020, I was like, I am meant to be a mindset coach. I'm meant to have a brand online. I'm meant to help women that are dealing with X, Y, and Z.
How did we lost our folk?
I'm here. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. Anyways, where did I turn off at?
You were meant to have a brand online, and that was the last thing.
Okay, good. We didn't lose a lot. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to have a mindset coaching business. I'm going to be on social media and I'm just going to make this happen. Right. Thank God I had done all of my research and my business and my degree was in business and whatnot, but it took me a minute. It took over 6 months until I got my first client. What is your experience going from working for somebody else to working for yourself? Because we talked a little bit before we pressed play and started recording this on like, I just became an unemployable person. I started figuring out this ADHD thing. I started figuring out this energy thing. I got connected to my intuition. I said, yeah, I can't work for anybody else anymore. I'm going to need to make something happen on my own.
Yeah. So I was so fortunate enough to have built an incredible network. So for me, I was working at 2 different offices. So I was working 6 days a week, and I was working 10-hour days to be able to serve my clients. And it just got to the point, I'm not sure if you're familiar with a lot of like neuro or a lot of doctors who study the brain. I'll just be very transparent here. There's a lot of misogyny in the industry.
Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? The entire industry of psychiatry, psychology, all of them.
It's just one.
Think about who created it. Think about who controls it.
It's one big dick measuring contest.
Yes, absolutely.
So it got to the point where I just had no autonomy over my time. And I would look at my phone and I would experience like just the fight or flight. And that's not the way that I'm supposed to live this life. So I absolutely said, fuck it. And I quit. It was Labor Day weekend. I quit. And then my boyfriend and I went to the mountains and we tripped on some mushrooms. You can cut that out if you. We tripped on some mushrooms and
We'll leave it in.
And I just had this brilliant idea. And I was like, people need to be able to have access to this care. At one point, neurofeedback really was specified for the elite or for people who could afford it. People were spending, tens of thousands of dollars to access that care. So I was like, okay, there has to be a better way. So for myself, being able to utilize a device that connects to your phone where you can still travel and you can still be able to access this care and know that somebody is behind the screen taking care of you, it just was a no-brainer to me. No pun intended.
Oh my God, that one went right over my head. Thank you for pointing it out. So we've been doing it for a while. And it's so funny that you say peak performance. I literally was on the phone texting and brainstorming with my business partner. Hi, Christine. And talking about a new name for my course, which I was calling the Time Hacker course, right? Because a strict routine has never been the way that I have found success as a neurodivergent woman running her life and business and the lives and business of everybody around me, right? I mean, my kids and husband don't have a business, but you know what I mean. I was like, the name just doesn't seem right. Like what? And so we're breaking down what the course actually does. And then the word peak performance kept coming into my brain. So I'm on my daily WAL peak performance. I'm texting her stuff and then we're talking and she's like, peak performance is like a brand, right? Like it's an actual, like it's a coaching program or whatever it is. It's well, that's not going to work because I don't want anybody thinking that what I do and what I offer is one of those things because I specifically did not want to be part of another program. I wanted to start my own program and be known for that. So when it comes to peak performance for especially neurodivergent women, late in life diagnosed women, women that are up against hormone imbalances, environmental issues, stress, just rushy, fight or flight, fawn or freeze. How does this impact them as opposed to working with a mindset coach who doesn't have this technology?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So I do like dually. So I also do some coaching and all my practices are neuroscience based. So we talk about the energy cycles, we talk about how to maximize your time, and that you don't have to operate at maximum times 10 capacity every single day in order to achieve your dreams. And then beyond that, we have this component of neurofeedback. So what was your question again? Sorry.
Like the difference between having this neurofeedback and retraining your brain as opposed to just working with the mindset coach who is going to like me, like I work with your energy, your environment, and then your mind. But I don't know how if you're in theta or beta or
Okay.
anything.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so your brainwaves change all throughout the day based on what you're doing and thinking and feeling. So, knowing those three things, the neurofeedback really does a lot of the heavy lifting. So, it's a subconscious effort where you're not actually, while receiving the feedback, not actually having to will the feedback to be better. So your brain learns through this operant conditioning, just as if you would teach a dog a new trick by giving it treats. So we're essentially giving you rewards through cues. So it does a lot of the heavy lifting, and then your brain learns that it can apply it in the real world. So essentially, you'll tap into this device for 20 minutes every day or every other day. And then you also have in conjunction some of these tools. So, where mindset coaching doesn't always have the same systems of analytics. So, what I think is so unique about the clients that I have is we have actually the data points that show you, oh, your brain is actually receiving so much more feedback than when you started. Or, oh, we can see that this brainwave has so much more power than when you started, or how this is changing. So it helps to solidify. And I notice so many people feel seen because it has this ability of showing you, wow, that's how I feel on the inside. But there's actually data that I can put everything in, and I can quantify it and see with my own eyes what's happening in my brain. Because, in my opinion, you would never go to a doctor and just say, oh, my leg is broken, and then they don't take an x-ray, but they give you all of these things to do with it. You go to rehab, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, we do that with the brain. Oh, here, take this, try this, and let's see if it works or not.
Well, and not to mention the fact that it must be so validating for your clients to see it in real time, because I don't know about you, but I have a lot of medical trauma that comes from doctors invalidating what it is that I'm dealing with and the problems that I have, and very recently diagnosed hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos, which means physical problems I've had my entire life that everyone and my mother, see what I did there? Everyone and my mother said, are you just being sensitive? No, it's not. Look at the results of all this stuff, right? And the research that's out there about, so it takes a man, I saw this the other day. I'll have to find the report and put it in the show notes. It took men on average 3 years to get diagnosed with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos. It took women 12 years on average to get diagnosed. So when we talk about fucking invalidation and the argument that's happening on social media right now, we're filming this in July, early July, and there's a huge argument happening on TikTok right now of some psychiatrist woman put out a video that she's since taken down because you don't go after the autistics, God damn it, not with our sense of justice. But she put a video out saying, if you come to my practice saying that you think you have autism and you want an autism diagnosis because I won't take you on as a client. There's been a big backlash against her. But what I hate about this is that I don't want the conversation to be around validity of a self-diagnosis or a medical diagnosis, because there's so many reasons not to even seek a medical diagnosis. First and foremost is there are no resources. I have a client who fought tooth and nails for her ADHD and her autism diagnosis and is now getting second opinions to validate them. And she's like, well, I just figured I needed them for resources. And now she's finding out there are no resources.
Mm-hmm. It's a rabbit hole.
They don't care if you're an adult with ADHD or autism. Like there's no reason for them to accommodate us. There's no reason for them to, there's no incentive for that to happen. So why even put yourself through it? Do you know Australia and New Zealand won't let you emigrate there if you're diagnosed autistic?
I didn't know that.
So when we center the conversation around health and wellness for a neurodivergent person, as opposed to centering the conversation around, how do you find out? Do some research. if you answer yes to the majority of the questions and you're identifying with people who are sharing their story, you're autistic and ADHD. It's just as easy because let's start accommodating you. And if your life gets better, boom, right? Like, why can't we just start accommodating? I don't understand. So when it comes to living as a neurodivergent woman and running your business, one of the accommodations that I talk about with all of my clients is when to be social and forward facing and when to be quiet and behind the scenes, right? So like I work with energy cycles that are a combination of your period, your menstruation, if you're a person who menstruates, the moon, your birth chart, right? So all the placements in your birth chart are going to have you make you interact with different lunations and astrological events differently and whatnot too. And really just raising your level of self-awareness to be like, okay, I know this is my luteal week right before my period. I know that I have premenstrual dysphoric disorder. I know I have PCOS and I have endometriosis. So my periods are terrible, which means I'm not going to go to a concert the week before my period. I'm not going to film a bunch of content the week before my period, right? So what are some of the systems and strategies and routines and stuff that you have in place to accommodate your needs?
So cycle tracking and doing that has been an absolute game changer for me. And really just breaking free from the narrative of that I have to be productive in order to be worthy. Like we were talking before we hit record is like, oh, pulling that knife out sometimes still burns a little bit, but it's a work in progress every day. And for myself, having tools when I have high energy or when I have low energy for self-care and being able to like pick from the toolbox because I have low energy, but I still need to take care of myself. Okay, I have this toolbox and I'm able to do this. And that helps so much. And I also work a lot with peak productivity hours. So based on when you wake up, based on how many hours that you sleep throughout the day, and based on when you start to notice in the afternoon where you start to dip, we can really figure out what sort of tasks you need to be doing during certain times of the day. So if you wake up at 6 in the morning, your peak productivity is probably from 9 a.m. to noon. So we can do tasks that are going to be more energy requiring versus then later on in the day answering your emails because that's not going to take a lot of effort. Well, I mean, for myself, depending on each person is different and really just making sure that you have those tools for every individual person.
Yeah. You know, I realized I had a breakthrough moment the other day. I'm in Northeast Florida. It is hot. It is uncomfortable. It is oppressive. It is dangerously hot outside. We've literally gotten text messages from the city to our phone over the past couple of days, July 4th especially, that said dangerous temperatures, use caution, right? Well, that means I cannot go for my mental health WALK between 11 a.m., I mean, even 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. because it's too hot. I have mast cell activation that I'm trying to get down. And I tried to go for a WALK late June at 2 p.m. and I literally had to turn around a quarter of a mile into the walk because my legs broke out into hives because it was so hot, right? So I know now
Roasted.
if I want my mental health walk, I have to do it really early. So the other day I got up, I got out of my house and started walking by 7:30 and I got home and showered and back in bed at 9:45 and I fell back asleep until noon. Then I got up and I did whatever I wanted to do for that day and I was no worse for the wear, right? And if that were 2 years ago, my brain would have been like, no, you exercised. You cannot go lay back down. You must go perform and do things and you are up and you must be productive. And now it's like, well, that walk was the productivity for the day, actually. Anything else that I get done is icing on the cake at this point, right? So, like, why is that such a mind fuck for?
It's always the argument of nature versus nurture, you know? I grew up on a farm.
To blame my parents. I'm happy.
I grew up on a farm.
Sounds great.
And so we woke up at the ass crack of dawn. You milk cows, you take care of your chores, and then you can go have fun. And so it has taken everything out of my adulthood to be able to break free from that and say, no, I'm not operating on farm time. Although I do still really enjoy waking up early in the morning and getting all my stuff done and then being done with work by 2 p.m.
You know how people talk about the revenge bedtime that a lot of us neurospices have, especially if you have children? or if you live with people, roommates or anything like that, where we want to stay up late at night because there's no demand on us from the people in our home, right? So it's revenge bedtime. You lose sleep, but you're like, it's gonna be a long time to
Yeah,
bed. I have that, but I have it with early
me too.
mornings, right? So like I usually, as a 37-year-old woman in pretty good health, I'm usually in bed at 8 p.m. And I am watching a show. I'm drinking my sleepy time tea. I'm happy to fall asleep, but I'm usually up at 5 a.m.
Yeah. My schedule is very similar. So I'm in bed by 9 p.m. and I refuse. Okay, so when I started working for myself, I was like, I am not fucking waking up to an alarm anymore. Like, I'm not waking up to an alarm anymore. So then my body just kind of naturally
Ooh.
adjusts and I still wake up around the same time. I wake up between 5 and 6 in the morning. But then during the winter, then I sleep later because it's lighter, it's not light out. But that's the way our bodies are supposed to operate.
Yeah, yeah. It was so freeing when I realized, like, man, you can just go lay down. You can go lay down. If it's 12 o'clock and you do not have any calls, and I've moved calls around before. I literally, all of my clients know that they may get a message from me that says, I cannot give you my all. So we have to reschedule. And everybody's cool with it because you don't want me at 50%. It's not fun. It's not even fun for me, right? I give you 100%. Or if I can't, we're going to have to reschedule it. But like, if I'm going to rest, I'm going to rest. And I will no longer even try and validate why I need to rest. That was my mental reframe to get into acceptance of what I need rest. And it is, thank you, Jesse, you know who you are for giving this to me. Why does my body need rest, right? So that you can validate it and allow it to happen instead of, seeking out some sort of mantra or affirmation of like, I deserve sleep. It's like, because your brain just says, no, you don't. But now I don't even have to ask that. Now I just literally, I'll be messaging my business partner and be like, hey, I got to go take a nap. I'll be back around 5. Okay, sounds good. Because I don't know how I used to work through it. How did we work through it? How did we work? You said before we started recording, or maybe when we were recording, you used to work 10-hour days. I can't even go to Walmart and Target in the same day now.
Yeah, you just get so stuck in survival mode and just feel like that's how you need to operate. I look back at my skin during that time, like my skin was so broken out. I was heavier and I'm not doing anything differently. My body just
Yep.
carried weight differently. And it just speaks to how much cortisol that we're producing and how our bodies just adapt because we are essentially made to survive in any way, shape, or form we can.
Yeah.
Our brain doesn't like to say, oh, let's get out of our comfort zone. No, no, your brain will keep you there by any means, even if
Yeah.
your comfort zone is somewhat detrimental. So, to a fault,
Don't I know
it's
it?
built to survive. So, that's what I was doing. It was just this revolving door of working.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk about it at the Neurospicy Academy a lot of trauma drive, right? Because everybody that I work with, whether it's at the academy or it's in a one-on-one with me, everybody says, I used to be able to do so much. I used to be so productive. And now I can't do anything and I'm tired all the time. And I'm like, when you come out of fight or flight, your body goes, I can sleep. Of course it's going to want to
Yeah.
sleep. Of course it's going to want to sleep. It wanted to sleep this whole time, but you refuse to allow it. So of course it's going to want to sleep. Of course it's not going to want to spend time with people that don't understand that you're healing, right? How many of us with ADHD also have an autoimmune disorder of some kind? Most of us don't even know about it. We're just so used to living with pain that we go through every day. Like I still argue with myself internally about taking a fucking Advil on my period. And I have endometriosis and polycystic ovarian syndrome and PMDD. And I still am like, it's probably not even that bad of a pain. I'm probably just like exaggerating in my brain. My cramps probably don't even work that bad. And then I take the medicine and I say, it feels so much better. Like my posture changes because I was in so much pain. Why do we do that? How do we talk ourselves out of that?
Oh, cut out.
It's just like, how do we talk ourselves out of this and imposter syndrome and the rejection sensitivity? Does that register on your device? Is there a certain brainwave for rejection sensitivity?
That's also a great question. No. So I can't read your thoughts. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know some of those other things. So that's why we talk about all of those behaviors. We talk about all of those different things. And there's something to say about feeling procrastination, not taking action. It's like confidence comes after you start. And so it's a skill that you have to build and it's something that you have to practice. So I always talk to my clients about the idea of focused discomfort, where you are so self-aware that you are uncomfortable for 5 minutes at a time, but then you're pushing against that edge and you can just continually push against that edge until you finally are able to do it. So it's my version of exposure therapy, if you will, because you're not really exposing yourself to a situation, but you're intentionally showing your brain that it's okay to be uncomfortable or that it's okay to like pick
Yeah.
up a heavier weight, if you will, and
Yeah.
showing yourself that you are resilient. You're not going to die through that. And sometimes that's napping in the middle of the day.
Listen, there is something to be said about horizontal nervous system regulation, right? So we know with procipitation, I never say this word right, procipitation or whatever, that's our tendency to run into things. Thank you. I swear I'm smart. I just have, sometimes I don't. Yeah. So that, for those that are listening that may not know, that's our ability to not run into things. That's our ability to like a cat has whiskers so they can tell where everything is. Humans are typically able to like see where everything is and work properly in that, but we can have issues with that as neurodivergent people. That also, when you combine it with your tendency to have hypermobility, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and need more support, right? Of course, we're going to want to lay down to feel good. I can't sit on the couch and relax. It's not comfortable for me. I'm always moving around and like trying to readjust, but I can go lay down with my weighted blanket and watch a show for 30 minutes and then come right back to life and feel a lot better. And when you don't slow down and you don't give yourself the space to like live with accommodations and run your business with a slower lifestyle, you'd never know. Because I used to beat myself up and be like, you have to. You have to stay vertical. You have to stay working. You have to move, 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 move. If you need a nap, you better sit on the couch and take that nap. You can't get very comfortable. You can't do that. And now I'm like, why did I think?
Yeah. I can get more done in the 3 days that I'm ovulating in a month than I need to do the whole month. I'm going to film 30 TikTok videos. I'm going to create all the content. I'm going to do all and then before my period, no.
Absolutely. I tell you, I call that my hot shit weeks, right? So I'm in it right now. I'm in my follicular right now because my period just ended a couple days ago. And then I have my ovulatory. But the shitty part about my PCOS and my endometriosis is that my cycle is like 40 days. So wouldn't you know which part of the cycle got stretched? The luteal.
Where you're inner criticizing.
I told my husband the other day, so we've been married almost 17 years. And I told him the other day, because I've been making a lot of improvements and advancement in my hormones because I'm perimenopausal and PCOS and ADHD. And like, because this is all I'm doing my research on, right? I'm working with people, professionals, and what I'm really, really trying. And I was talking to him about it. And I said, you do understand that every month my PMDD makes me legitimately feel like running away and never seeing you and the kids ever again. It legitimately makes me feel like all of you motherfuckers are just using me and you don't appreciate me. It genuinely makes me feel like I should just quit my business. I'm not helping anybody. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Everybody would be better off if I just ran off into the sunset away, right? Not suicidal ideations by any means or anything like that. And, completing suicide, if you have thoughts of anything like that, please reach out to a professional, trigger warning that we'll put a trigger warning on the beginning of this video. But and I know that these thoughts, these disruptive thoughts, come in and I can't stop them from coming in, but I can now say, these aren't real.
Yeah.
This is your hormones acting up. This is, we can do things. We have strategies now and tools now to get us through them. But when I told him that, his face dropped and he goes, do you really think that every single month you experience that? And I said, I literally experience every single month thinking that I should just divorce you, give you the kids and go the fuck away.
Same.
And he's like, damn it. I'm like that is so taxing and draining emotionally to go through that every month and for that to be the longest span of the cycle, right? Because your ovulation is 5 to 7 days max. Your follicular is 5 to 7 days max. That luteal is fucking 10 days at least. And then your period is 5 to 7 days max. So you do the longest part of your cycle is the time that you feel your shittiest.
Yeah. I've learned a few different techniques of working out differently and also eating different foods. And that helps me a lot. I've started doing the apple cider vinegar and carrot salads, and that helps my period.
Yeah. You do those every day?
I do it like right after I ovulate, I start eating the carrot. And that has made a huge difference as for something so simple. But it is on my list of things I desire this year to work with a nutritionist, because I think the more that I learn about my body, the more that I know, the more that I can then pour into my clients with even more knowledge. So, like, why not?
So I'm going to ask you a very personal question. You can answer it afterwards if you don't want to in front of everybody. But I have been working with a specialist for constipation because my hypermobility most means that my bowels just don't move and I have to retrain them. So I've been working diligently with lots of stuff. Mind you, you know what a motility test is? You eat corn and then you wait to see how long it takes until you see it again. And the first time I did it for my motility test, it was 5 days until I saw that corn. So the carrot salad thing, right? And everybody's probably seen it on TikTok. You shred up a carrot, a raw natural carrot, and you put apple cider vinegar. Some people put fat on it, it's like coconut oil, whatever, season it to taste. And you eat it, and it's supposed to take out detox all of the recycled estrogen, right? Because estrogen, I just learned this listening to Andrew podcast. Estrogen is a once use and then drain from the body. You cannot recycle estrogen molecules. But if you're not eliminating your bowels regularly, then that estrogen is just getting reabsorbed into the body and can wreak havoc. So the carrot salad, does that work because it makes you poop?
So I don't have any issues with.
Must be nice. All right, show off. No, I'm just kidding.
If it were anything of like the opposite way, like
and everybody I talk to is like, I don't know, I'd have diarrhea. And I'm like, I would pay for diarrhea.
I think that's my problem. Like I poop more often than I would like to. And I know that that's linked to like anxiety and absorption and all of those different things. But I find that, yeah, it keeps me regular, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and it all has to do with fiber, and the fibrous content of the food you eat, both soluble and insoluble, because they work differently in the bowels and whatnot. And again, if you are somebody who is not evacuating your bowels, at least, listen, you're supposed to poop every time you eat. You're supposed to have a poop for every meal that you have. So if you're a big snacker, there's a lot of things that go into it. Trust me, I'm doing the research. And there's lots of different schools of thought and whatnot. But if you are a person that has to have a coffee to poop, that means you are constipated, right? If you need a bowel irritant to get things going, that means that you are constipated. And there are so many reasons why we're constipated. We're supposed to poop within like the first 30 minutes of waking up. But women don't typically have that worked into their schedule, whether you have kids, whether you have a partner, whether you have an animal, whether you have this. So we have trained ourselves to not go when we need to go. And then there's this it's a whole big shebang. And I'm so glad that you don't have this problem to deal with. But I also know, because all of my friends don't have the same problem, they have that opposite problem that you have, that one's not a fun one either.
My mom,
they make traveling miserable. I will say that. You don't want to go traveling with anybody that's got diarrhea or anybody that hadn't pooped in a couple days, because they're both not happy people.
I can attest to that. I live in Colorado, and so my boyfriend and I go backpacking and camping and doing all of the things. And whenever we're camping, my digestive system is just like, no way, not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a joke. My mom, when she was still alive, rest in peace, whatever you're supposed to say that's politically correct. When I would travel, because I got married very young, I got married at 20 years old. So when I would travel, and I'd be talking to her on the phone, she'd be like, remember, Mel, are you taking your stool softeners? Are you taking your stuff? Because you're not going to poop if you don't do that. And I was like, yeah, I literally had to when we reflect with our life and we say, how did I not realize this is a problem? Anyways, after I had my first son, I had him via C-section. I did not poop for 6 weeks. And I got a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. And for anybody who's never had one, they give you this big jug that you have to fill with apple juice. And it essentially tastes like salty apple juice. And then you stay in the bathroom for the duration of your evening, right? It is cleaning you out. And I could not finish the drink before my surgery. So I went in, and as they were putting me under, I was like, I didn't finish. You might find poop. And I'm like, hey, finish the drink. I hope you don't find poop. And then I fell asleep. And when I woke up and they had gone through, they're like, everything looks good in there. We don't know. I said, yeah, just give me that test prep from now on. And I'll take that once a week and I'll never have a problem. I said, the problem was that I had too much poop in me. But now I look back on it, I'm like, that was totally a normal thing for me. And that's not a normal thing.
Yeah.
But because,
have you heard of Triphalia?
I haven't. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work for you. Wow.
No, the thing that does work for me in my bowel retraining would hurt you. You would wake up with cramps that would make you think maybe you needed to go to the ER.
I'm sorry.
But it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt me. It like I wake up and I go, oh boy, things are gonna get now. Okay, right. But like it doesn't hurt me. But there's so many things that we have to figure out. This is why I really like more naturopathic, holistic routes for healing and wellness, because now when I put it all together, endometrial tissue, that's all up and through my gut, right? The bad fat, the visceral fat is all up and through there because my cortisol is too high. My insulin is too high and I'm insulin resistant because I have polycystic ovarian syndrome because my hormones are all out of whack because of my environment and all this other stuff that I'm getting under control, right? So like the hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, the connective tissue that your colon is made out of, and that every sphincter from the top of your mouth to the end of your root chakra, that tissue doesn't work properly. And then I have trained it out of even trying to work properly. So of course things aren't working great down there, like it all makes sense, but also to the degree of like, this is why an individual approach to everybody is so important, because you're not the same as everybody else.
Yeah. And having the resources to be able to know that everything is figure outable.
Yes. Yes. And like not stress about it. Like we'll figure it out. It may not be the answer we want, but we need an answer to be able to start engineering a solution.
Yeah. And allowing yourself not to be attached to the outcome as well.
That's a lesson everybody needs to learn. When you sit here saying, I want to win the lottery. I want to win the lottery. I want to win the lottery. You're really limiting the universe. We want to switch to, I want to be well. I want to be abundant. I want to be successful. I want to be happy. Those things, right? That's what you want to attach yourself to. But we do get attached to the outcome. We do say, well, this is how it has to happen.
Oh, yeah. I've realized that so much of, if you aren't achieving the goal in the way that you've wanted to achieve it, it's like there's so many other plans that are out for you. There's so many other things conspiring in your favor that you have no idea about. And also, it's like your nervous system maybe isn't capable of that. So for me, it's like clients who say that they just want stacks of cash, or clients that want so many other clients, or all the things above. Can you still hear me? So it's like maybe your nervous system isn't ready for that. So you have this subconscious belief that that is going to fix all the things, but really, no, not true. First, it's about feeling in the feelings, and then you'll get the thing because you're not attached to the thing.
Yeah. I remember realizing just how dysregulated my nervous system used to be, because the idea a year or 2, 3 years ago, the idea of going for a WALK, just, for 3 to 5 miles, like I normally do, just because like I want to get out there and exercise. That idea did not seem doable to me, because my first thought was, what happens if I break my ankle 3 miles away from home? That is not a regulated thought.
Yeah.
That is not the thought of a person with a regulated nervous system.
Yeah. Yeah. And the awareness of that, because then thoughts will multiply. So like you think a thought, and then it's going to think another thought like the thought, and then it's going to think another thought like the thought. And it's just this like spiral.
So how many times have you been like DMing a potential new client and talking and talking and talking, and all of a sudden they stop responding to you and you're like, hate me. And then they come back 36 hours later and they're like, you're never going to believe the emergency I just had. Hey, can we talk? Because I want to sign with you. And it's like, I just spent the last 36 hours beating myself up thinking I was the worst person in the world and you hated me, right? So it's like, we got to regulate.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's with the neurofeedback. That is one of the things that I can help with. It is so much of that executive dysfunction, because when we start to spiral, we're activating all of those systems of survival. And so if we can teach our brain to activate the prefrontal cortex instead, it's just this momentary switch of activating different systems in your brain to be able to kind of switch that off, or make it easier to switch that off, because there really is a space between those thoughts, between the thoughts that you think and the reaction that you take after.
Yes, there really, really is. Especially like, listen, guys, I've made content about this before. Rejection sensitivity. Okay. When I call my husband and he doesn't answer, snarkily, whether it's true, whether it's sarcastic, I don't fucking know. My brain goes, he's probably at the divorce attorney drawing up the papers. Oh, that this is not the truth. I know that's not the truth. He's a happy guy. We have a happy marriage. We put a lot of effort into it, right? Because that's what it takes. And I know that's not the case. I know that is just rejection sensitivity. I know that's just my hard wiring and my attachment issues and my trauma and my CPTSD and all the things that I'm actively working on and that I know you guys are actively working on every single day. And it just doesn't go away overnight. But to be able to stop that spiral. So, because here's the thing, a spiral is never upward. Right. A spiral is up down. So if you can stop it, right? If you turn that hose on, but you're able to cut it off before it fills up and starts spraying everywhere, you're good to go. You know, we'd also have these standards for ourselves, especially, I know, particularly for myself, I was told for as long as I can remember, it's anxiety and depression, which are two things that you can fix. You take this pill, you do this thing, you make this choice, you no longer feel like this, your brain no longer feels like this. And it's like, actually, it's ADHD and you're probably autistic or you have PDA or you have this or you have CPTSD. This is just the way that your brain is designed now. So we have to accommodate you, right? And it's like, please, can we just understand that, like, I'm never going to like bright lights. I'm never going to like to be around a lot of people. I'm never going to like small talk, right? I want to go deep. I want to talk to people that have special interests that are weird and shit too, right? Like once we can accept that, then we can figure out the parts of our brain that do need to be repaired and improved.
Yeah. Yeah. And honoring that in yourself. It's like, I just don't like this. I have a preference for this and that's okay.
I like to think of everything as dishes, right? So like there's many reasons why I don't like doing dishes and that's not going to change. I don't like it when water dips down my arm. I don't like it when my tummy gets wet. And I always splash water all over the place because I'm athletic, but I'm not great. I know a lot of people. They don't do anything. They just push the water around. They're just like a lie. They're a lie. Yeah. So it's like, if we think about all the things in our life and in our business as dishes, it's like, it's perfectly valid for me to not appreciate this, and this because of my sensory experience, right? The same way you don't want to touch microfiber cloth or wear a certain kind of fabric or be around a certain kind of lighting or sound. Why don't we like, of course, everything in our life is going to be like that. We just have to find a way to give ourselves permission to honor.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're going to go thrifting, don't plan on going thrifting all afternoon. You're going to have a meltdown if you're trying to be in multiple thrift stores for a very long time.
Oh man, that is one thing I just like can't get on the bandwagon. There's just too much stuff everywhere.
There's a lot of stuff when you go thrifting. Yeah. I can only go thrifting once every couple months and it's a specific feeling that comes over me. It's like a wave of like mischief and like dopamine seeking where I'm like, I could really look through some stuff. I could look through some old fucking silverware right now. Let's go through the right. And then I go and I do it for a little bit and I get about 3/4 of the way through the store and I go, I have to leave. And we now know our limits. Like I say this with all my clients, to become limitless, you have to learn your limit, you know? So if you're going to be doing a bunch of forward facing stuff, you know, filming podcasts, working with clients, making content, you're going to need recovery time for that.
Yeah. Making sure that, your schedule allows for having different types of tasks during those different phases, whenever you know your peak productivity is. And something I've always noticed is like, do the hardest task first, and then the rest of the day is just golden. I call it eat the frog.
I can't eat the frog. I talk about how I have to start with a fun thing first or I won't be able to. But I also have persistent drive for autonomy, which really right now it's considered a subset of autism. But I literally, like any perceived demand on me, like, okay, I came up with the perfect example of it for people to understand how PDA can affect me. I've been rewatching the old seasons of Real Housewives of the OC and of Beverly Hills. And it is customary for those women to look at each other, like when they see each other for the first time, they go, this top is cute. Your hair looks great. You look so pretty. What's the problem with that? First of all, was my last time not cute? Second of all, this is the same thing I always do. So did you not like it the last time? Third of all, do you think I would leave my house looking busted? What are we doing here? Right. So people don't understand all the ins and outs of the persistent drive for autonomy that goes with ADHD and PDA autism too all the time. They just think it's when somebody says, come here and do this. And it's like, no. It goes so much deeper than that, where I'm like, the assumption that is being made by the sort of action. And from a neurotypical standpoint, it seems irrational. It's like, but I'm complimenting you. Why wouldn't you like it? And when I worked at the very busy restaurant, which will not be named, for 5.5 years before I went full time with my business, people would compliment me on my makeup because, I do a full face everywhere I go. And be like, oh my God, I love your makeup today. And I literally it would irk me inside because I'd be like, you didn't yesterday? What did you think yesterday? Why, what are we, do you think I'm an idiot? I don't know how to do my face every time. I work on it. Right. It also happened. The lady at the grocery store, she was checking me out the other day and she checked my egg. She was cashing me out and she checked them. She opened them to make sure none of them were broken. And my initial reaction was to like go, do you think I'm an idiot? And I wouldn't check them. But I changed my approach. This is where mindset comes in, right? I changed my approach and I looked at her and I said, how often do you open those and find a broken one? And she goes, actually, about 50% of the time, 50%, half the time. I open them, there's either one missing or there's one broken. And I just figure because of the price of eggs right now, this is back when eggs were really costly. I just figure the price of eggs is so expensive. I don't want y'all getting home and realizing you missed out. And I was like, and she also said it was primarily men with the broken missing eggs, which made me even happier. And I was like, wait, understanding like what's happening up here is not always real. These thoughts come through and they're not meant for you to take action on all the time. So, now that everybody knows how terrible a person I am, part of this to live in this brain, but yeah, I work with people to make their own brains easier to live in. Yay. So yeah, at least everybody knows I have experience. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? It will be linked in the show notes, but tell everybody where they can find you, what your favorite social media app is, all that good stuff.
Yes. So my handle is Master Your Mind, and that's the name of my business. And you can find me on all of the socials. I'm trying my hardest to grow on TikTok right now. It's challenging. I'm having a more difficult.
We'll talk afterward.
Okay, cool. So Instagram and TikTok are definitely the best ways to find me. I feel like I'm a little bit more unfiltered because that's just the way it be.
Yeah.
And Instagram is a little bit more authoritative and tips and tricks.
Yeah. Different things pop off on different social media platforms, that's for sure. But, giving it our all on as many as we can is the best way to be successful as a neurodivergent entrepreneur. Just make sure you're not doing so much that you're burning out.
Yeah. And I'm currently
good.
currently enrolling Pete for my one-on-one. I have a cool 4-week worry cleanse that's going to be happening. And I also every year, every couple of months, I have something called the Brain Summit. And that is where it's a virtual event that is completely free to my community. And it conversations with all different types of practitioners in the nervous system regulations. It's a 2-day event typically where you get to ask questions. Each presenter is of their own craft. It's been just absolutely amazing. And it's something I really love and always look forward to. So definitely tune into that as well for the next one.
Absolutely. Okay, Hel, I am so glad to have had you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. I will be following you even more diligently than I have been and learning more about this neurofeedback, biofeedback stuff. I'm obsessed with anything to help you as a neurospicy person live your most balanced and fulfilling and healthy life as possible. And I love you all equally and for different reasons. Do your research and take care of yourself. And we'll talk really soon. Okay.